Hey everybody, this is SysAdmin Sean, and today we are trying our first episode of the SysAdmin Sean podcast. And this is a podcast where I kind of want to start an interview series talking to different IT professionals that I know, I've worked with, I'm familiar with their work, and let them kind of discuss what their IT role is, how they do the things they do, maybe discuss some things about work-life balance, those kind of topics, and you get to learn a little bit more. So today's episode is Andy. Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your current IT role and go into that in a little bit.
Sure. So currently, I'm a software engineer that is working for a technology company that works with software, satellite images, and sort of the infrastructure that powers all of that.
Oh wow, okay. So basically you're working for like Google Maps, right? That's
We do lots of things that are similar to that. Sure, it's not Google Maps specifically. I'm not going to get into the details specific there,
Absolutely.
but there's lots of similarities.
Very cool. Very cool. Would you mind giving us a broad overview of your journey through IT? You don't have to name any companies or anything. I'd like you to keep that really, really anonymous in general. Maybe just discuss sizes, job roles, things of that nature.
Yeah, my whole IT journey. I've been in IT for a little less than 20 years, just about 20 years. I can't remember anymore, but it was a lot of luck because it sort of happened during several different booms in IT. It wasn't all luck though. There was a lot of hard work, there was a lot of long hours, elbow grease, and just generally showing up every day. The way that I got started. So I'm the son of two school teachers, and during the summers, my parents would take me to their schools while they would clean up from the previous semester or prepare for an upcoming one. I would kill time by playing on the school computers, and eventually we got one at home. And then I played around with computers. I got my first paid job doing websites for the local school district when I was a sophomore in high school. It's pretty lucky for me to be in the right place at the right time, get that opportunity. After that, I went to college and I got a job doing tech support and websites as a student. And then once I finished college, I hopped around to a lots of different industries, small advertising companies, small civil governments, universities, startups, cloud computing companies, and then finally I've settled in like what I would consider a small to medium sized business in the tech industry. And then the job titles that I've had, there's been a few: web developer, assistant database administrator, VMware systems administrator, systems engineer, site reliability engineer, and software engineer. And I did a little bit of management while I was in there too. So I've done a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'd say so. Is there any one of those job titles you don't think you ever want to do again?
Web development was at the time really challenging to me because there was so many different web browsers to support, and that's just gotten harder with like more and more devices, more and more types of devices. Now there's this like whole mobile thing that you have to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of complexity or that kind of all of those differences that you have to keep in your head, that would be really tough to for me to do these days.
Okay. I totally get it. I know the web development team I work with definitely does not like all the browser compatibility that they have to work in. So makes total sense. I noticed you said in there that you've also done some managerial work. So that leads into my next question. What is one thing that you look for when hiring or mentoring new IT personnel?
Yeah, I do mentoring. I have conducted tons of interviews. I've made hiring decisions. And aside from those basic questions of like, could this candidate possibly do the job? How long would it take them to be able to do the job? And like, will this person be a jerk? I look for a candidate's self awareness. So, do they know their own limitations? Do they know how well do they know their own limitations? How well do they know their own strengths? And how do they communicate that? I put a bit less value on somebody's like what school you came from, that sort of thing. And I really appreciate that the best talent can come from unexpected places. There's like a saying that I keep in my mind a lot, and that's talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not.
That's a good set of words to live by. Okay, so in IT these days, what things excite you?
The thing about IT that excites me the most is as like a discipline, it's growing on just about every single dimension there is from all different parts of the world. Lots of different backgrounds of people are now getting into IT, lots of different, every type of person that could be in IT is in IT. And that sort of diversity is just growing. That's really encouraging to me for lots of different reasons. And then more specifically, like the AI and ML space is super exciting to me. I also have like a twinge of excitement from reading about companies that are wanting to get back to their own data centers and like exit clouds like AWS because of their
Hmm.
costs, and like going back to their own data centers, like reclaiming some of that is really exciting to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that it kind of seems like it's cyclical, or folks will have a data center, they'll go to the cloud, and then they'll decide that the cloud maybe isn't for them, and then they'll go back to a data center, and then that kicks off a new string of hiring new people, and a lot of great things happen there. And then who knows, 10 years from now, they might go back to the cloud again. You mentioned AI and ML, and for a lot of folks, that's actually a scary topic. What is something that scares you about IT these days?
The number one thing that scares me about IT is security.
Hmm.
I'm absolutely horrified by questionable to bad security practices and industry-wide security problems. Like there was this recent LZMA fiasco that was a supply chain challenge in software. But overall, like there's been a pretty short period of time where IT has become a part of everyday functions of life, and we're more vulnerable than ever. And security is just really, really hard and often underinvested in. Oh, and the other thing that like scares me is there's this thing called the year 2038 problem. Look it up on Wikipedia if you're interested. It's just a mere 14 years away. It's like the Y2K problem, but it happens in 2038, and that's a scary thing to me.
I'll make sure to put a link down below in the description so everyone can look that up really easy. So, good suggestion there. Okay. What do you consider some of the best education for people that are interested in IT?
For me, the best way to learn is by actually doing something.
Hmm.
Sometimes that can be really hard to do in IT because you might not have servers, or you might not have the resources available, or you might not even be able to search for the right thing. You don't know what to even start Googling in the first place because it's not a concept or not a thing that you've ever really dug into. So a lot of time lately I've been using chat gpt to kind of explore a brand new topic and put it into terms that I can understand a little bit, so that I can have those, so I know what to look for, so I know like the terms that I need to be Googling. I don't like blindly trust the output that Chat GPT puts out, but it kind of helps me develop that vocabulary for a search for YouTube or Reddit or some other place for higher quality content.
That's a good tip for everybody. Use ChatGPT to find out what you should be searching for. I 100% agree with that. I use ChatGPT a lot because I'm not a coder, never will be probably. But if I need to understand the basic layout of what a certain type of script should be or how a language syntax needs to work, ChatGPT can usually give me a pretty good framework to start from. And then I can go out and look for, how to actually use that framework properly as opposed to usually what ChatGPT dumps out. How do you balance your work life schedule?
Oh man, this is such a great question, and something that is just starting to be talked about. in the industry. It took me a long time to actually appreciate and realize how important my health is to me and my family. I see lots of people in the field with health problems that are related to overworking, not having that right like work-life balance. Things that have helped me with my own personal journey of finding a better balance have been I am ruthless about work-related apps or notifications on my phone. The only work-related apps I have on my phone are PagerDuty and my calendar. I don't have email on my phone. I don't have Slack. If something is important enough where I need to be, you know, engaged on an issue or whatever, we can use PagerDuty. Otherwise, it can wait until the morning. That's helped me escape some of that kind of always being on that the phone sort of enables. There's a few other things that I've done to help with my work-life balance. One is being an advocate for myself and an advocate for my health. If I have like a really tough on-call shift or there's some sort of overnight maintenance event where downtime was hard and we had to do it overnight so that our customers were impacted, I'm going to take the additional time away from work. I've had jobs where that was not really common or practiced, and I ended up finding other jobs where that was more acceptable. To me, that respect for my time is like I'll respect the company's time, and I want the company to respect my time too. It's a two-way street. Some other kind of things, hobbies that aren't on a screen. I've got all kinds of like hobbies that don't involve being on a screen. Riding a bike, playing musical instruments, or lifting weights. Like it's all about having that. For me, it's all about giving myself space to completely occupy my mind with something that isn't work. So it's like really difficult to think about something related to work whenever you've got a really heavy barbell on your back. A couple of others, like something else that was helpful to me was having friends that aren't my coworkers or aren't in the IT world. I've got like really close, great friends that are coworkers or former coworkers or whatever, but tech or IT can kind of turn into an echo chamber. And if you're sort of in that world, in that headspace all the time, even when you're not specifically working, you don't get out of that headspace. And it can kind of lead to it. For me, it led to a little bit of an unhealthy relationship between me and my job. The like dinner with a friend that doesn't know about IT or care at all about it is super underrated. And then the last one was a little more personal, but for me, like it was probably the most influential is just seeking help when you do need it. I felt really silly doing this at first because I thought I should just be able to solve all of my problems myself. Turns out that I couldn't. And as a result of that, like my problems just got worse. So anxiety, high blood pressure, sleepless nights, even though there's no pager going off or anything like that. I went to doctors to try and get my health under better control. I go to therapy to try and understand some of my own kind of mental health hangups or related issues. And I was diagnosed with ADHD as well and got a prescription for some medication, and that's made a difference for me too. It was all of these things helped me, but like a single job didn't cause me to develop an unhealthy relationship. So there were some jobs that were better and some jobs that were worse than others. Like it was a combination of all of this stuff about always being on that sort of added up for me over time. It's still a struggle for me. None of those things that I talked about earlier were like a silver bullet quick fix. And I just have to be honest and patient with myself and still work at it today.
Yeah, absolutely. That last one is actually really important. I think as IT people, we have the tendency to want to fix everything ourselves or just Google it and find the solution. And you can't do that with everything. There are IT people for people, and we need to reach out to them when we're essentially the end user.
Yeah.
That's all really good information, though. I really like the one about no screens. I don't follow it, but I should. I should absolutely do a lot more no screen time myself. So that's all really great information. So this one's going to be kind of one I don't know if you work with as often as much anymore, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's one thing you wish end users did better?
The thing I wish they did better is an appreciation for the value of ongoing maintenance. There's a lot of work that we in IT do that is sort of just maintenance, but it keeps the lights on, it keeps things going. There's effort that's required to just keep these machines up and running, patched, functional, all of that kind of stuff that it's sort of hard for an end user to see the tangible benefit of. And that's like one like major disconnect that I feel with end users is like appreciation of the effort that went into making this just all magically work and like continue to work is non-trivial, but it's also really hard to like communicate that to end users. So I wish they just magically did that better.
Yeah, it's hard. You want to let them know that the work's being done, but at the same time, the less they know, sometimes the better. But the wheels, they don't keep turning unless people are working on them, and you really want that to be invisible, to be perfectly honest, because otherwise then it looks like you're causing interruptions all the time by keeping things fixed. So that's a good one, and something that all end users should be thinking about that are listening tonight. So what's one thing you wish IT people did better?
Hands down, it's written communication. But I've seen a lot of really smart IT people kind of plateau in their career because they couldn't communicate with the non-technical colleagues that they had well enough, and it was almost always in writing. To me, being able to write a proposal or documentation or run book or whatever that someone who isn't in the IT world can understand and be persuaded by is kind of like a superpower that will unlock that next level for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. What is your IT dream job if you don't already have it? What goal or experience? What do you want to do that you haven't gotten to do yet in the whole IT realm, if anything?
For me, I think I'd like to be like a CTO or CIO for a small to medium sized business or university or whatever. I think there's like really it's really challenging because you have lots of different people to please and things to do, but it's also an incredibly high leverage position to be in where you can enact some real change, some meaningful change.
So you're looking to take over a CIO somewhere and do some shakeups, maybe switch an ERP system a couple of times, something like that.
If it's the right thing to do, sure. If a shakeup needs to happen, that's great. But it's a place where your impact can really live on for a long time by helping make those kind of pivotal decisions.
Well, you're already given great CIO level answers. I really like these answers to these questions. This is awesome. Do you have any final thoughts for us? Anything that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about, or anything that you want to point out new IT folks should be focusing on, looking at, anything like that?
My final thoughts are keep looking at the sort of soft skills or the sort of work that's not just the technical work. The resources that we have today, like podcasts like this one and others that are out there, are really important to grow this community. And I really wish this would have been available to me when I was just getting started.
That's very sweet of you to say. There is. It feels like sometimes there is a lack of. I don't want to say alternative learning because that kind of puts a negative spin on it, but more of a broader breadth as opposed to like LinkedIn Learning or Pluralsight or any of these tech technology education portals where you can learn all these technical skills. I do wish there was a lot more about, not just interacting with end users, but learning how to have soft skills, learning how to, handle a situation via communication. Like you said, written skills, speaking skills, just getting more general exposure to the real IT world as opposed to the wonderful cookie cutter examples that we sometimes get in technical classes.
Yeah, the real world is really, really messy for lots of bad reasons and lots of really good reasons. And, those cookie cutter examples are that happy path. And it can be really messy whenever you have a specific problem you've got to dive into. I was going to make one more plug or one more kind of educational sort of thing. There's a coaching service called BetterUp. I think their address is like betterup.co. And what you can do there is you can get like a 30-minute session with a coach to talk through a really difficult situation that you're in. It's not like therapy. It's not technical either. They're not going to help you fix a script that's gone wrong, but you can explain a situation to your coach, and they can help talk you through how to have a really difficult conversation or how to try and get through to someone who has been really difficult for you to get through. And I've used that a few times lately, and it has been excellent.
Huh, that's really cool. I didn't know about that. I'll have to check it out, and I will put a link down in description for that too, so that folks have access to a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, because that's really good information. Well, I appreciate you being on the first episode, the inaugural episode of the podcast. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah? It was awesome.
Very cool. And again, thank you so much for being on. I hope everyone here really appreciates it, and we'll maybe talk to you again in another year or something, depending on how this podcast goes. Would that be something you might be interested in? A yearly update?
Of course. Sounds great.
Very cool. Just want to say a big thank you to Andy again for helping out with this podcast episode. And I hope you all really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys tune in for the next one when we have one a month from now. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Give us a thumbs up and whatever we need to get more likes on this. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next one.